Steve from letsfixitup.com, and today we're going to install a new toilet. So the first thing we're going to do is take out the old one. I'm going to turn the water, reach under here, and I'm going to turn the water off first. Make sure it's off good and tight. You can use a wrench if you can't do it by hand. And then I'm going to flush the toilet to get the water out. Make sure we get all the water out of the tank. And this is a toilet seat that I want to save because it's a self-closer. And they're a good thing to have, especially if you have guys around, that they don't slam in the middle of the night. So the first thing I think I'll do is actually take off the toilet seat. We'll save that. I'm just going to pop these off with this putty knife. And looking for a Phillips screwdriver. Using a Phillips, that's a Phillips head and Phillips head screwdriver. I'm just going to loosen these. Sometimes there's a little nut, plastic nut under here that'll spin, so you may want to hold it. That like that. Same thing over here. A lot of times the toilet itself will hold the nut in place underneath so it doesn't just spin. Okay, I'll save these for when I want to put this seat on either the new toilet or another toilet later. Then we'll save these caps as well, and the seat should just pop right off like that. Now I'm going to go just make sure I can get as much water out of this tank as possible, because when I take the toilet off, it's gonna spill a little bit. But that's as much as it's gonna come out there. So I'm gonna, underneath here, I'm gonna actually unscrew this nut. And then when I do that, more water is going to come out there, so I'll probably want to get a can or something to contain the water. So using the channel lock pliers, I'm going to reach under here and just loosen this plastic nut. And there's nothing wrong with this hose, so I think we'll try to reuse the hose. So there's no need to take it off here for now, just off the toilet itself. And I'm going to also undo this other screw, which will allow this other nut, excuse me, because it will allow the water to actually come out the bottom. A lot of times these are just hand tight, but that's going to take the rest of the water that's in the tank that didn't flush down so I can move the toilet easily without splashing water all over. And that's kind of about it. Okay, we can cut for a second. So now that we've got the water out of the tank here, this toilet is caulked it onto the floor, which is really up to code because of sanitary reasons. You don't want to have any spillage under there, but it's going to have to be cut to get the toilet off. So being very careful using a utility knife, I'm just going to cut around the exterior here before we loosen the bolts to remove the toilet. I'm not worried about this damaging this toilet because we're just going to discard it. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So now coming over here, we need to loosen these bolts. There's one on each side. And I just need to find the right size, or a crescent wrench, which is like this, adjustable wrench, to fit here and turn counterclockwise to loosen the bolt. Fun stuff. A little smelly, but fun. You can always use rubber gloves if you're a little bit queasy about this kind of thing. Then take the nut and the washer off. I'll do the same thing on the other side. I've got both sides off of the nut and washer, and if the caulk is loose enough, I should be able to lift the toilet right off the flange. Might take just a little rocking to break it free, and there's still water in the bowl a little bit, so I'm going to just set it in this tub right behind me. You may need a partner for that part. They're kind of heavy. Okay. So now that the toilet's off, you can see that we've got the caulk residue still that was around the base of the toilet, and also the old wax ring. So we've got to clean that off really good before we start with the installation of the new toilet. I've got a couple of tools here. Putty knife and it's actually a trowel that I'm just gonna try to scrape. It comes up relatively easy. The caulk residue. I don't know what this toothpick or this tongue depressor is doing under the toilet, but we'll figure that out later. Looks like they had a couple of wood shims to level the old toilet. Just gonna stick it on this box. And I need to get this old wax ring off. And it's probably, if I'm not mistaken, we should be able to just pop this out. Let's see. Yeah. and this is the original flange that went with the original toilet. This is a wax ring. This is to go in the flange over there. Now this particular toilet has what they call a rough-in part. Normally you would just put this on the bottom of the toilet and then put it onto the flange into the floor. But in this case, they have this part. The toilet goes here, and the wax ring actually goes here. So we're going to center it on there like that, and then when we put the weight on it, the wax ring will splash out and protect it. This is a Toto toilet, and this is kind of unique to that type of toilet. Okay. Now, what I did on this Toto toilet was, there's a template, you can see it on the floor over there, that I put because we're going to mount the toilet directly onto the ceramic tile. And you can see I put the template onto the floor like this, lined. I measured from here to make sure that it was equal distance and level and flush. I measured to make sure that my lines here were at the center of the flange and here as well. And using these template pencil marks, I was able to get marks on the floor in 6 locations to mount this mounting unit that's kind of unique to the Toto toilet. And so what I'm going to do now is drill the holes for the mounting kit. I hope it doesn't crack the actually the wrong hole for that, but we'll do this one. I'm kind of going easy because I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it because I don't want to break or crack the tile. Felt it punch through and go into the wood subfloor below. Okay, so now I'm going to take these anchors that were provided with the toilet, and I'm going to fit them down into the pre-drilled hole that should provide a tight fit for the toilet. Now I'm going to screw the back part of this down into the anchors that we put here on the back side. One and two. So you can see it's in there solid. That baby's not going anywhere. No poop will move that baby. Now I'm taking the mounting blocks that come with it and I'm securing them to the floor into the anchors that we just put in. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on it because I don't want to crack anything. And I don't want it to strip out. That's good and solid in there. So that's that part of the process. Okay, that's good. This is another part of the mounting system, and this is really on all toilets. This piece has a flat head on it that you can see. And it slides into this slot here, and then you turn it so it can't come out. And then this washer goes over top of it like this, and I can push it down tight so it doesn't move like that. And I've done it over here too. And then we're going to take this, what they call the rough out, and I'm going to fit it into the hole and put the bolts that I just put on through these holes here. Once we put this on, we don't want to have a lot of movement from the wax ring. We want to make sure it's aligned properly. I want to line it up with my holes that I've drilled in the back, and then I want to push straight down. Really firmly. And this sets the wax and makes the seal so when you flush the toilet, water doesn't come out. I'm going to just keep applying pressure here for a minute, pretty evenly. Okay, I have this on there. This is just another way to tighten it a little further. I'm putting a washer on that bolt that we just put in. And I'm going to tighten this nut down. And this, by the way, is how you actually mount a regular toilet without this piece. It goes right into the base of the bowl. But in this case, we're going to be setting the bowl onto this rubber grommet here. Okay, do the same thing on the other side. It just gives it more stability. As we set the new bowl onto this mechanism, we'll be screwing into these pieces here to additionally secure it. Okay, now we've set the toilet on to the rough out piece, and now I'm going to screw from this side hole into those mounts that are drilled into the floor. I'm gonna be really careful. I'm not gonna take it all the way in with the drill because I don't want it hitting against the sides and cracking the base of the toilet. So I'm gonna take the final piece of this by hand just to make sure I don't have the vibration crack the ceramic. And that's about as tight as I can get it. Then there's this little plug that goes into the screw head to conceal the hole. After making sure that this nut and this nut are hand tight, and you don't want to over tighten because you can crack the china or the ceramic. Now taking this nut, this gasket rather, I'm going to place it over this nut firmly, and it can go either way because it's uniform on each side. Then I'm going to take the supply line hose. So now that the gasket is on, I'm going to take the water supply line and I'm going to hook it to the inlet valve right here, making sure that I don't cross thread it. And I want to get it good and snug, hand tight. one person's hand tight is not equal to another person's hand tight, but we want it on there good and snug, but not so tight that we crack the plastic. I'm going to take my channel lock pliers after it's hand tight, and I'm just going to give it about a quarter to a half more turn, maybe a little more, making sure that we don't over tighten. Now I'm going to take the tank and I'm going to set it on to the back of the bowl like that. Okay, now that we flipped the tank over, the water line is on, the gasket's aligned with the hole on the base of the toilet bowl. We're now going to take these long bolts with a rubber washer on it and put it inside the tank into the hole here. So now that we've got the bolts with the rubber washers on the inside of the tank, we're going to take the metal washer and the nut, get up under the toilet and secure it down, secure the tank to the bowl. Okay, now that we've got the toilet secured tightly, the tank to the bowl, I've reached under here and turned the water on. This particular toilet has the flush with these rods that need to line up with these two push buttons. It's a big flush and a little flush, essentially. So being careful to align it correctly. Be able to put that on so it's not going to slip. Then I will turn the water on underneath here. The tank is filled now that I've turned the water on, and let's give it a try. See what it works. Let's try the little baby flush. That's a pretty big flush for a baby flush. Okay. And now we're going to try the big daddy flush. Definitely a difference, not a whole lot of difference, but definitely a difference. And I like the swirling action of these Toto toilets. These Toto toilets can be purchased on Amazon. They'll deliver them directly to your door. And if you go to Amazon through letsfixitup.com, that helps my company and it costs you nothing. We appreciate you watching this video. Okay, now we're going to put the toilet seat onto the toilet bowl so we can have somewhere to sit. So the way this comes is with a lock washer, with a washer and a bolt. And then underneath the toilet will be this funny looking thing that will come up under the toilet to secure the seat. So I'm going to put this down through the hole like this. I'll do it again with this piece. And so we're going to go flat washer, lock washer, down through the hole, and then taking it over to the toilet. We're going to line it with the holes in the bowl, put it down on it, get it aligned with the front of the toilet evenly. We can make adjustments later, but I'm going to crawl underneath and put these pieces on.
Dad!
What?
You farted.
I didn't.
No, you in.